Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another episode of NBA Past and Present. I'm scrolling. Yeah, this is episode number 5. Okay, so episode number 5 and tens and 20s of views later, here we are. Last week, Jonathan, we talked about the NBA's best bargain contracts, the players that were probably the most underpaid for this particular season. And of course, yin and yang, black and white, quid pro quo. We got to talk about the 10 most overpaid players in the NBA this season, which is really easy. And I don't know about you, but there happens to be a little bit of overlap from our NBA's most hated teams, our anti-Naismith teams.
Yes.
I've got some overlap.
Yes.
Yeah, you think you have a few of that, a little bit of that too,
Definitely.
a little bit of
no doubt
of that. Before we get cranking, if you guys have watched our pod the last couple of weeks, NBA past and present, we talked a little bit about our FanDuel experience. My good friend here has turned me over, lured me in, got me into FanDuel. And look, just to be clear and to reiterate, in case my wife's watching or my kids, I hate sports gambling. I've never done it, but I decided to give it a shot because you talked about it and I got jealous and I didn't want to miss out. And another good friend of mine, Brian's doing it as well. And so I got in. I got off to a pretty good start, Jonathan. Okay, I'm talking about $3 and $5 bets. All right, not life-changing events either way, one way or the other. But what I enjoyed and what we talked about, Jonathan, is parlays, 5, 6, sometimes in your case 15, 16 leg parlays, just to see what happens. Just throw it against the wall and see what happens. Is that kind of what you like doing?
Yeah, and I have recently I've tried a bunch of different stuff. I put together a 22-leg parlay, and I bet it was something random, like $11. Okay,
Yeah.
And the payout was going to be like $570 on 22 legs. I won 21 legs, and the one
cut your
leg
leg off?
the one leg I didn't win was Zion Williamson getting 4 rebounds.
He's 280, by the way.
He got 3.
280 pounds. Yeah.
He got 3 rebounds. Same game, he got 43 points. So it wasn't like he wasn't trying. Yeah.
Right.
So it's just inexcusable. I don't understand. But yeah.
He let you down. He's not a great rebounder, man. I'm looking. He's not a good rebounder. Like, people are comparing him to Barkley.
Nope.
Not in that category, my friend. I mean, like half. We're talking about half as many rebounds a game as Barkley.
Right.
So here's my well, I'll just throw it out there. Here is my FanDuel story, and it's my last FanDuel story.
Really?
Yeah. So I put $250 in the account total.
Okay.
And started off fine. Everything was good for about a week, and I'm probably 14 days in, right? You know that.
Yeah.
I lost 20 out of 21 bets, and then decided, as we discussed, and the reason I don't do this in the first place, I can't stand losing. I cannot stand losing money, losing sporting events, losing anything. I don't like losing. I can't stand it. I was losing so much more than I was winning. And again, this is not 50-50 bets. I'm not betting the Bucks to win or cover a spread or this. I'm not betting over-under on Kevin Durant's points. I'm doing stuff like you're doing. Bets you're probably supposed to lose more than win, but that's kind of what appealed to me. So I was putting in $5 bets that like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9 leg parlays to win 50 to 70, right? Mm-hmm. So 10 to 1 odd type stuff, and just keeping an eye on it. Give me a reason to watch the Pistons and the Hornets and the Kings and whatever. And the last one I did a I think 17 game parlay, and I won 16. And I'm trying to remember what I didn't win. I think it was like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to get 4 assists or something that should be real easy, and he got like 3 or something like that. Yeah. So I decided I have enough, and I had 100 and so I actually, some of the winnings from the first 7 days, Jonathan, I put into Tatum to win MVP and Kevin Durant to win MVP. Kevin Durant was 10 to 1. MVP, and I was like, well, 10 to 1, I'm gonna bet, I think I bet like $50 to win 550, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I moved some of my money over there. And then last night I was like, you know what? This is pissing me off so much, and I'm not enjoying this at all. I had like $100 left in my account. I put it all on the Nuggets to win the West.
Okay, why not?
And I was like, the hell with it. Yeah, I think it was like 5 to 1 or something like that. Does that sound right? Something like that. So it was like $109 to win like $500 something, something like that. Yeah. So I'm out. Done.
And if you're not enjoying it, then it definitely you need to get out for sure.
I'm going to enjoy hearing your stories though, because I know you're not going anywhere. Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere yet, but I have started to get really pissed off, man. I mean, it does bother me. I mean, I had that 22 leg deal. I had a 25. 25 is the most you can bet. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
I went 25 and won 24. This is all in the same week now. Okay. Won 24, and I think it was, I can't remember who it was to score 20 points, and they scored 18 or something. It just like, come on.
People are laughing at us because I'm betting $5. You're betting whatever, 20 or whatever, or 15.
20, 25.
Right. So the next step is I'm going to get you into cards, and then you'll have card stories instead of FanDuel stories. So that's the next step. We'll see if I can pull you over and lure you in and transition you to this stuff.
I'm sure you can, because at least you've had some success with that. I haven't had success with this and lured you in, and you didn't either.
Yeah, you owe me. So you're going to give cards a shot at some point. We'll talk about it later. All right, so let's talk about our 10 most overpaid players. We like doing these top 5, top 10 lists. It's fun. And again, we never communicate beforehand. I put my list together. You put your list together. I did my top 10 overpaid just like I did my top 10 underpaid, 10 through 1, where their contracts rank in order of most paid to least paid in the NBA, and then what their salary is. Of course, we'll talk about that. And then I've got some notes next to it just to kind of refresh my memory about how I concluded that this dude belonged in my 10 most overpaid players in the NBA. I've got to believe we're going to have a lot of overlap on this. I bet we have probably 5, 6, 7, maybe even that overlap. Maybe I'm wrong. I doubt we ever disagree on somebody being overpaid, but I think we're going to have a lot of overlap, man.
Yeah, it just depends on what direction you went with your list, right? So I'll be able to tell very quickly if we have overlap or not. I was willing to bet that our number 1, well, unless you went.
No, it's number 1 has to be the same.
Okay, it has to be. All right.
It has to be the same.
That's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's not delay anymore. So let's get cranking. So we'll start with you. Who's your number 10? Who's your 10th most overpaid player in the NBA? And remember, it's hard because you may be talking about a guy who makes $9 million a year who should be not in the NBA versus a guy that's making 47 who's a good NBA player, but he's not a $47 million NBA player. So it's hard to reconcile those things. Yeah. But we're going to give it our best shot. So who's your number 10?
So my number 10 is a guy who's actually having a pretty good year. And for Philadelphia, he is shooting the ball well. He scores. I mean, I just feel like $37.6 million for Tobias Harris.
I know who it is.
Tobias Harris is overpaid. And the fact that he is in the top 10 highest paid players in the league, I think that's right.
16th.
Okay, sorry, 16th is absurd. I mean, look, when we were growing up, how many guys averaged 16 and 6? Right, that's the way I look at it. I mean,
how many don't? How many starters don't average 16 and 6?
Right, especially in today's league where you can't touch each other and people are scoring 130 a night. So Tobias Harris was my 10th most highest. Now, I had him higher until I actually looked at his numbers because he's actually having a pretty good year.
But. He is. I'll be okay. Here's my take. First of all, he's number 8 on my list. Okay, so we're close there, and we both agree 37 is probably a touch too much for Tobias. He's probably a $19 million player. He's being paid like the 16th best, and I think he's probably around, being generous, the 85th to 90th best player in the NBA. Fair?
I'm with you. Yeah.
If there's 30 teams in the NBA, would he be the 3rd best player on all 30 teams? Some maybe,
yes,
some he wouldn't be the 5th best player. Some
would he ever be the 2nd best player? That's
never be the 2nd best player on a single NBA team.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm thinking of. I mean, would you rather Tobias Harris than Franz Wagner or Banchero?
No,
me neither. the Hornets. He'd be the second best player. Is he better than Hayward and Rozier? He's about the same.
No, is he better than Rozier? Because Hayward doesn't play. So, you know what I'm saying?
No, he never plays. Okay, yeah. So he's the 90th best player. He's getting paid like the 16th. I'm with you. I like that. He is definitely not the 16th best player in the NBA. So, ugly contract there. My number 10, Jonathan, is Patrick Beverley, who was – I don't remember if he was your most hated MVP, but he was definitely on our anti-Naismith teams.
He was number 1 for me. Yeah, he was number
1.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So he is paid like the 112th best player, but I think he's the 1,012th best player in the NBA. He makes $13 million a year. Let me give you some guys that make the same amount of money as Patrick Beverley. And again, I want to stress again, Patrick Beverley's like we had his numbers pulled up the other day. Let me pull these up real quick. Nope, I spelled Beverly wrong. Patrick Beverley. There we go. Patrick Beverley is averaging 6, 3, and 2 on 39% shooting and has half of the average PER in the NBA. He's an 8. His PER is 8 in the NBA. Yep. So he is not just a below average starter. He's a below average NBA player by a huge margin. And he's making $13 million a year. That is the same as Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Kelly Olynyk, Kelly Oubre, and Chris Boucher, who's actually a pretty good player up in Toronto. So I can't imagine anybody other than his wife, kids, and mom watching this show that would think that Patrick Beverley should make as much as any of those guys that we just named. Again, those guys aren't world beaters, although Kuzma is having a really good season. He's on another level of the other guys. But, like, those other guys are very crucial rotation players that would be rotation players on championship teams, I think. All 4 of those guys, Josh Hart, Olynyk, Oubre, and Boucher, would help the Bucks. All of them.
Oh, they help
every team. They'd help every team in the NBA. Beverley would help no team in the NBA, not one team, because the young teams that suck don't need somebody like Beverley, and the teams that are really good, he's just not good enough to be on the floor.
Correct. And I, because of that, I actually went to another extreme with him. I have him as my second most worst contract.
So not because of how much –
he's getting paid $13 million, and he belongs nowhere near the league. I don't think he should get paid $13 million in Europe, in anywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he walks into a health club and should be the first pick, right? I look at it like that and go, I think it's absolutely absurd that dude is getting paid over $10 million a year to play basketball. It's absurd.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing.
Jonathan, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I'd have said he's a relevant NBA player. This dude hit a wall like I've never seen for a perimeter player. Like most bigs hit walls, and you're like, God dang, he just became terrible overnight. He hit a little perimeter guy wall that is just like, this dude is horrific. All right, enough. I can't stand it. Let's not talk about it. Number 9 on your list.
Number 9 on my list, and I got some good players on my list, man. I mean, some good freaking players, is Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal is having a nice year, shooting 52 from the field, averaging 23 a game, but at $43.3 million. I think he's like the 5th highest paid player in the league right now. He would not be the best player. I'm trying to think. I mean, is he the best player on Washington's team? I mean,
yeah, he is. He still is.
Yes, he is, right? He's got to be.
Him, Kuzma, and Porzingis. I mean, Porzingis had a hell of a year. Porzingis had a really good year, man.
He's a discussion, right? Beal's probably the best player, but I think it's a discussion. He's the best player. Who would he be the best player on?
He's averaging 24, 3.6, and 5.2. He's shooting over 50%.
I know, but $43 million he's getting paid.
He didn't make my list. Do I think he's worth that much? No, but I've got bad news for everybody watching. He's about to make $57 million in 2025.
And look, in all fairness, okay, I tried. You know, we said we're not taking that into account. I could not avert my eyes.
You had to. I mean, they hitched their wagon to this dude. So look, well, you know what? They should have learned, because you know who they hitched their wagon to last time.
Yeah, exactly.
We're about to talk about him. Yeah. Both of us are. So. They keep making the same mistake over and over. The Knicks did the same thing for like 2 decades, right? Yeah. They're hitching their wagon to the wrong horse. And look, Bradley Beal's really good. I think he's probably a top I think we can safely say he's a top 25 player in the NBA.
Yes.
Okay. He is definitely not the fifth best player in the NBA.
Correct.
And he's got 193 mil sitting out on that contract. So Wizards, good luck. You better figure out a taker for him because that's not going to bode well for any type of contending in the next few years. All right.
Think about
I don't mind Beal. He didn't make my list. He was just too good, and I guess I didn't look close enough. I couldn't.
He has no prayer. Think about this, though. He's
probably a $38 million player, and he's making 45. I'm like,
but he has no prayer of making a first, second, or third team All-NBA, and he's making $43 million.
But he did it already. He did. He made an All-NBA team.
We're talking about this year.
I know. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. He did it in 2020. That's eons ago. It's two years ago. There's 3 years removed, so I get it. My number 9 is a no-brainer. He's paid as the 68th best player in the NBA. He's averaging 11, 2, and 2 on 40%. He's old as dirt and plays no defense. He is not a top 150 player in the NBA for sure, and he's paid 68th. And he's going to make $20 million next season, and that is Eric Gordon.
Yeah,
my hatred for Eric Gordon has permeated this channel many times on many occasions. I watch the Houston Rockets because I like watching the development of those young kids. Right, I told you about it. I like watching guys figure the game out and get better, and they are, despite your hatred for the Houston Rockets and all things Houston. So Eric Gordon's making almost $20 million a year. That's $7 million more than Patrick Beverley, and I don't think he's that much worse. Here's why: he shoots more, and he has less of a place in Houston than Beverley does in LA, and that's really saying something. Really saying something.
Yeah.
So Eric Gordon's my number 9. Did he make your list at all?
No, he didn't. Eric Gordon to me is so completely irrelevant, but that's a lot of money for a guy who's completely irrelevant. So, like you said,
give me your number 8.
Okay. My number 8. Oh, this is going to piss some people off too, but where I see it as of right now is Klay Thompson, who is making $40 million this year, shooting 40% from the field. He's averaging 19 a game, but he's shooting 25 times a game, I feel like, every time I look at a box score. Defensively, he's not what he was. Offensively, he's not what he was. And so, I don't know. Look, you hope by the end of the season, maybe he does come back around to form, but it's just the game is a lot harder for him now, and completely understandably so, right? I'm not trying to take away from it. I mean, heck, he even said it in a press conference. No, what did he say? No, duh, I think, whenever.
Yeah. No, and look, we should have said this at the outset to make sure our viewers understand. We're not including rookie contracts in this. We didn't. We should have made that clear. No rookie contracts, because some of the best contracts in the NBA are the 4 years you get a rookie, at cheap labor, and some of those rookies are like insane. Some people are still like, I think Zion's still on his rookie contract, for God's sake. So obviously, no rookie contracts. Got to be on your second contract. And no injuries. So you can't say like Chris Middleton, right? He hadn't played a game. That's not fair to him. And you don't want to say Anthony Davis because he always gets hurt and now he's hurt. We're not saying that. We're talking about guys that have, performed or whatever. And you're right, man. He's hit a perimeter wall, just like we talked about with Patrick Beverley. Klay Thompson's relevant, but is he the 11th best player in the NBA? Is he better than – should he be higher paid than Anthony Davis, Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Zach LaVine, Kyrie Irving? I mean, listen to some of the names: Pascal Siakam, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, Drew Holiday, Joel Embiid, Jokic. That kind of puts in perspective. He's significantly higher paid than all of those guys we just named, and that ain't right. So my number 8 we can skip over. It's Tobias Harris, and I agree with you. And the more I look at it, he could have been higher because he's 16th most. You think Klay Thompson is more overpaid than Tobias Harris at 37. Who's better right now, Klay Thompson or Tobias Harris?
That's what I went and looked at, because originally I had them flipped. And but I'm just watching. I think Tobias Harris might be a better player right now, man. I don't know if he's a better fit for Golden State, or like I just look at it and go, okay, he's shooting, what is he shooting? 48% from the field right now.
Yeah.
I think he's more relevant. I think the game's easier for him. Now, maybe if you put Klay Thompson with Philly and all he had to do was catch and shoot threes, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up, but I'm just looking at it going, I think Tobias Harris at $37 million is less overpaid.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're both. Yeah, you're right. Well, so I've got it pulled up. Clay's averaging 2 more points, fewer blocks, fewer steals, fewer assists, half as many rebounds. They both shoot 88% from the line.
Yeah.
Effective field goal percentage, Tobias Harris is 57. Clay's barely over 50%. Now, part of that is because the vast majority of his shots are from three. Actually, he takes twice as many threes as Tobias. He still shoots 38% from three, Jonathan. But guess what? Did you know Tobias Harris is shooting almost 40% from three?
He is. And Klay Thompson's only shooting like 40% from the field.
That's right. Well, what that says to me is he has no lift and can't finish at the rim, and he can't create clean looks off the dribble. That's really what that means. He can still shoot the basketball if he's on a catch and shoot, but he's struggling to shoot it off the dribble. And that's what when you see that huge disparity between, when their three-pointer percentage and their field goal percentage is almost identical, that says to me you've become a catch and shoot, or you were always a catch and shoot. Now, we know Klay used to be able to do more, but he has become purely a catch and shoot. He is Kevin Huerter.
Which is also directly related to his inability to defend like he used to be able to defend as well.
Yeah, all that goes together. Creating separation, creating, gaps to shoot. That's it. All right, we did mine. That was your number 8?
That was my number 8. So
and Tobias Harris is my 8. So let me just go to mine. My number 7, Mike Conley. Again, if you take into account the fact that he might be, sainted in the Catholic Church because he's a great human being. He's a great influence in the locker room. By all accounts, I have never heard anybody in the NBA say one cross word about Mike Conley. He's apparently the best of the best off the court. So throwing that out, and also throwing out the fact that, other than bringing those guys in Utah along from that perspective and off the court perspective, he really is kind of getting in the way of Utah's progression. He's $22.68 million. He's paid like the 55th best player in the NBA. Tell me who you'd rather have on your team: Brogdon, Simons, Nikola Vujacic, or Terry Rozier, or Mike Conley.
Right, all of those guys instead of
all those guys.
Conley was outside looking in for me.
Yeah,
but he was on my long list. It was kind of like I had Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis lumped together just because they're always hurt, right? But I couldn't put them on the list because when they are healthy, they're so good.
Yeah.
But Conley was on the outside looking in because I took into what did you say, $22 million?
22.6 million. He's, what did I say, 55th on here? 55th highest paid player. He's averaging, Jonathan, 9, 2, and 7, shooting 30. This is what people don't realize. Shooting 37% from the field.
Right.
That's terrible. That's so bad. That's hard to do. And it's the same thing, Klay Thompson. When me included, when we get old, shit gets really hard, especially scoring the ball when you're an undersized point guard in the NBA. It just gets really hard. You can't go by anybody, so they don't gap you anymore. You can't shoot. So, they can get up on you and put hands on you, and there's really not much you can do about it.
Yeah, if when you go back and look at Conley when he was at the end with Memphis, he was scoring the ball. He put up numbers, but he was efficient too. Right?
Yeah,
that was the thing. He has lost all of that.
Yeah, he's lost it all. Conley's my number 7, John. Who's your number 7?
Rudy Gobert is my number 7.
Really? Okay.
$8 million, just because I think he is one of the 5 most overrated players possibly in the history of basketball.
Wow.
I know, defensively, blah, 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 and he rebounds the ball, but he's going to defensive rebound the ball because he's always around the rim. Anybody that you're not quite sure that you can play at certain stages of a playoff game cannot be worth $38 million. That's the way I look at it. So that's a lot of freaking money, man. And you take into account all the people that he has paid more than, he's on my list for sure.
Jonathan, I don't think there's anybody in the NBA, and throwing out guys that get injured and, people don't want to touch them. I don't think there's anybody in the NBA where when you bring their name up, there are people out there talking about him as one of the greatest defensive centers of all time. And then there's also people out there saying he's not a good defender. Right. There's literally people out there who don't think he's a good defender, because he's not versatile enough. And so it's very rare you have players. You never get that on offense. Nobody says he's a great offensive player, and then some people think he's a terrible offensive player. But on the defensive end, it can be misleading. The awards are what they are. The defensive metrics are what they are. But like you said, they put him on the pine. I mean, they sometimes he gets benched in playoff games, and you can't have $38 million sitting on your bench watching players play basketball in the most crucial games of the season. That happened last year, and Minnesota still had the nuts to go out and, I think, overpay like a mother. Basically, they forfeited their decade.
Yeah, and I tried to take that, push that off to the side, but giving up 4 first-round picks, I consider that being overpaid, right, to a degree. The other thing is that nobody really talks about because they're so focused on his defense, right? Is he a great defender? Is he not? The fact that he is 7 feet 2 inches tall, and anytime there's a switch on a pick and roll and you can't throw it into him and get anything out of it, it's absurd. Yeah.
That's the issue with the NBA right now is people are like, true bigs can't play in the NBA. No. Yes, they can. True bigs can play. They just have to be able to exploit mismatches on offense. Right. And he can't do it. He's averaging 13.6 a season. And people are like, well, he shoots 67%. Yeah, because that's never in a one-on-one situation. That's never in a post-up ISO. That is always rim running, lob catching, offensive rebound, put back. That's all it is. Like, absolutely no threat when you throw the ball into him. Even if he's got a 6'7", 6'8" on him, they will not throw the ball into him. And that's part of the reason why he was pouting all the time in Utah. And I don't blame Donovan Mitchell. I wouldn't throw it into his sorry ass either because he can't play offense. And so the guys that you can get away with, in the NBA that are true bigs, Embiid, Jokic, true gigantic people who also struggle defensively out on the perimeter on switch and pick and rolls, they punish people on the other end if they try to go small and play 6'8s and 6'9s on them. They would destroy those people. Draymond Green can't guard freaking Jokic or Embiid in the post. He's non-existent. He's a backpack, right? But he could probably, I guess, negate Rudy Gobert. Not that he would even have to because they won't throw the ball into him. So here's the deal. So Minnesota has got Rudy Gobert at $38 million a year. $38 million a year, and Karl-Anthony Towns at $33.8 million a year, and Towns is extended to $60 million through 2027.
Yeah.
So they're rolling with this foursome. They're rolling with Russell, Towns, Edwards, and Gobert.
It is, and at some point, Anthony Edwards has got to look at the situation and go, "Are you kidding me? Really?" I mean, because Towns is a wannabe 3 to begin with. And then, Gobert, I keep going back to it, man. Like, even if he was just Clint Capella, like Clint Capella is a roll guy, dunk guy, right? But if a midget gets on him, midget in NBA terms, gets on him, you can throw it to him and he can score, right? Like Vucevic for Chicago. You can throw it into the post and he can punish you. If Steven Adams, for God's sakes, if he's got a midget on him, he'll just flash to the front of the rim and throw it to him and run around and dunk it. I mean, God dang, man. It's unbelievable to watch.
The Minnesota situation is interesting, because it's going to fail this year. And Anthony Edwards is now finally – he was very inconsistent at the beginning of the year, but over these past 20 games, he's kind of started to settle in. He's averaged 24-5-5 or 24-5-6, something like that. There's no question he's an all-NBA player at some point. You would agree with that.
Yes.
And he's the class of that quartet, right? Even though D'Angelo Russell's having a really good season, by the way. I know a lot of people don't like him and haven't noticed because he might not really be a point guard, but he's having a pretty good season. Yeah. The only reason I know is he's on my fantasy team, so I'm kind of watching him closely. They're going to have to make a decision on the Gobert and Cat Towns. Are people going to be able to – are you going to be able to move – you're not going to be able to move Gobert ever. Right. Like he's a Minnesota Timberwolf for life.
You got to move Towns. You have to move Towns.
My question is, can they move Towns? Can they move when you're locked in to let me go back. The number is pretty staggering. $228 million over the next 6 seasons.
And you got to keep in mind that number, even still, I mean, I know that it's jumping. That's you have to be a franchise guy with that number, right? So what contending team would look at that First of all, I don't think many. So does an Orlando Magic, does a Charlotte, does somebody like that look at Towns and go, he can be our cornerstone, right? Or at least he can be 1A to our 1.
Like a Jonathan, like a Wagner, Wendell Carter, Suggs, Bol, and 3 draft picks for Cat Towns.
Yeah, right.
Orlando's not doing that. Orlando's not going to do that shit.
They shouldn't. They'd be crazy to do that.
But that's what it would take. I mean, Minnesota's got to get some of these draft picks back, and they've got to get a hellacious, trio or quartet of players back in exchange for Towns.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if he's movable. I don't know. We'll see. He needs to come back from injury and start playing first and foremost. I'm higher on Towns than you are. I do think he's probably the 5th or 6th best center in the NBA.
No, I'm with you on that. I'll give you that. Yeah.
But that's a lot of money for a center, period. For a center, period.
But you got to keep in mind the drop-off between
2.
Embiid and Jokic, right?
That's it.
And then the next tier to me is like Towns, Adebayo,
Big drop-off. Good players, big drop-off.
Big drop-off, yeah.
Ayton,
exactly. Right.
Huge drop-off,
Yeah. So,
all right, wait, we got sidetracked there with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, that was
my number 6. Was that your number 6?
No, that was 7. So you're at 6 right now.
Yeah, my 7 was Conley. So my 6 is even though I love the guy and he's had a great career, Hall of Fame worthy, maybe. We need to talk about that. Kevin Love, $28.9 million. He's paid as the 44th best player in the NBA. He's not in the top 150.
Yeah.
Fair. He's not a top 150 anymore. Kevin Love, for those interested, gets paid more than Jaylen Brown, Chris Paul, Brunson, DeMar DeRozan, Draymond Green, and Julius Randle. I just named 1, 2, 3, probably 4, 5 All-Stars and some All-NBA players. And Kevin Love gets paid more than them. This was when LeBron, the exodus, this was a payment in arrears, basically, to Kevin Love. As a lifetime service award, like a lifetime achievement award. Here, take a bunch of our money. We're going to be rebuilding for a long time anyway. I don't think they realized how quick they're going to bounce back. I'm sure they wished they had 29. And again, Kevin Love is still performing at a pretty high level for a dude his age with his skill set, but not a $28 million. Wouldn't they love to have $28 million to go make a run at a guy on that list that I just named? Good Lord, could you imagine Love out? And then, if we go to our NBA contract list, $28 million could get you, again, Brunson, DeRozan, Julius Randle, even a John Collins at $23 million, Brogdon at $22 million, Anthony Simons. I mean, go look at that list, dude. I mean, all of those guys. Throw one of those guys on Cleveland. Really, you would need to pick a 3-man because that's what they're missing in their starting lineup, right? They're trying to figure out between Cedi Osman and your guy, Karis LeVert. Could you imagine out with Love, in with one, a young athletic scorer or even a Dorian Finney-Smith type, just 3-and-D guy? That would be nuts. Love's my number 6, man.
Yeah, I didn't have Love on my list. I missed that. He should have been on my list.
You missed that.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize $28 million. That's on me. My number 6 was Evan Fournier at $18 million, and I think he's averaging about 5 points a game right now.
He's not playing. He's not in the rotation.
Yeah, has on an average to below average team. So
not injury related. We don't think you're good enough to play in front of Miles McBride and Quentin Grimes.
He could not be more of an anti-Tom Thibodeau guy than he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Soft. He's like the prototypical former European guy, right?
What we used to. That's it. Yeah. That's it. So I don't know if you saw this, but there's a viral reel out there where they ask Giannis who would win the USA's best 5 versus the world team, and he puts Fournier in his 5 for the world. And I'm like, Giannis, my dude, what are you thinking? I love you to death, but what the hell are you talking about? Give me the Fournier at the 2. I'm like, no, that's not going to work out real well. Not going to work out. So, Fournier's there, man, for sure. $18 million for Fournier is bad. But you got to keep in mind, well, look, Fournier's bad at 18, no matter how you slice it. But I'm definitely about to one-up you here with a guy that is not even in Fournier's neighborhood. Like, he's not even remotely close, and he makes $60 million a year. He's averaging 4.9 and 0.2 on 40% field goals and has 2 torn ACLs. It may be no offense, and maybe the worst defender in the NBA today, the worst NBA defender today. He makes more than Nurkic, Luguentz Dort, Valanciunas, Bobby Portis, Christian Wood, Brook Lopez, Jordan Clarkson, and Kyle Kuzma. Davis Bertans.
That's a good one.
4.9 and 0.2.
Yeah, that's bad. And he and for 2 years was getting talked about as this big shooter and this and that. And this, yeah. I didn't get down that far. My focus ended up being on like guys who were bigger name guys.
Yeah.
Right? I had Fournier on there, so that didn't really count. But as you've seen so far. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
He's paid as the 93rd biggest contract in the NBA, the same as Lauri Markkanen, just to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
And guess what? The Spurs
strikes a chord with you for sure.
Guess what the Spurs get? They get to do it for 3 more years. He goes 16, 17, 16. So 3 years of Davis Bertans eating up 16 plus on the salary cap. He's my number 5.
Sounds like a Spur. At least he sounds like
he does. He does. He would have been a great Spur like 7 years ago, but no. Go for it. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Russell Westbrook at $47 million. I had him higher originally, and then as I started digging in a little bit, I had to drop him because the fact remains he does play basketball like in games, okay, and he's putting up pretty decent numbers. Like if his name weren't Russell Westbrook and you looked at his numbers, you'd go, dude's a good NBA player, but we're struggling because of the fall off, right? But at $47 million, he's the highest paid. Second highest paid in the league right now. So he's definitely not in that area where he'd be worth that. So I would say he's number 5 for me. Originally, I was thinking I was going to put him higher, but there's another guy making $47 million that should be a lot higher than him. So
he's going to be number 1, right? We know who it is. So I'm with you. Russell Westbrook's my number 4, second highest paid player in the NBA. I was going to ask you this question just off the top of your head. And remember, there's 30 teams in the NBA. If you take the 3 best players off each team, that's like, all things considered, 1 through 90, that's like the top 90 players. Where do you think Russell Westbrook is we know he's not the second best player behind Steph, right? He's wedged between Steph and LeBron, and they're making that much money salary-wise. They're making that much money because of what they've already done, and they're all NBA. That allows them to push their contract amounts higher and how long they've been in the league. So Westbrook's in that group with those guys with all those all-NBAs and all those years of tenure, which allows you to make more money. So when you get to the top of the list, it's always going to be the older guys who have all the all-NBA teams because it unlocks that ability to pay them more and they can command more. But like, where do you think Russell Westbrook is legitimately, Jonathan? Top, is he a top 100 player in the NBA right now?
For sure. And here's why I say that. It all depends on the situation with him.
Fit. Yeah.
Right. So you put him on another team. I mean,
this is the worst fit. This is the worst fit. Well, Golden State would be the worst, but this is the next worst fit in the NBA.
Yeah, that would be it. Milwaukee might be a bad one. The 2 years ago, he averaged a triple-double.
I know.
2 years ago. And he hasn't gotten hurt. And he's not like lost a ton of athleticism. He's still does some crazy stuff.
If they traded De'Aaron Fox for Russell Westbrook today, could he maybe average a triple-double again?
Yes. I mean,
I agree. That's why I'm like, it's so unfair. It's unfair. No matter what, 47 is too much, no matter what.
Right.
I think 50 is too much for Steph, to be honest with you, but that's just me. I mean, we're on the same page. That's my number 4. So we're on to you. Who's your number 4? I guess a lot of people probably thought we'd have Westbrook closer to the top, but he's not. He's definitely not.
Again, look at his numbers. Like, go look at him and take his name away from his numbers and go, you would think totally different about him. You really would.
Yeah.
My number, what am I at? Number 4?
4.
Gordon Hayward at $30 million. And it's all based on the fact that he doesn't play basketball. He can't stay healthy, and he's still, moderately effective. He's not $30 million effective whenever he steps in. So that was number 4 for me. And
makes the same as Tatum.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, enough said, really.
Yeah, I mean, $2 million more than Jaylen Brown. So he's right there. Speaking, he was a former Celtic too. I'll never forget horrific, worst possible fantasy basketball story. I trade in the offseason for Gordon Hayward the year he's going to Boston and gets paid the bag, and he's going to be the focal point of their offense. And then first quarter, I believe, right? the devastating, disgusting injury, and I'm watching it on TV, and I'm like, that's the worst feeling. And it was the only game, I think it was like one of 2 games that night on opening night back then. There was only like 2 games.
Yeah.
And Hayward did his creepy injury, and it was disgusting. And kids, get out of the room. It was gross, right? Joe Theismann type nasty shit.
Yeah.
And my fantasy season for that season was over. And that was like the most sobering, miserable thing ever because I looked so forward to fantasy basketball. I'm in a huge dynasty league. And it was like, well, my second best player is out for the entire season. So I started trading everybody for assets. And I just hit the rebuild button in the first quarter of the first game of the season. That's my Gordon Hayward story. But I feel bad.
He wasn't on your list?
Gordon Hayward was not on my list because when he plays, is he overpaid? Yeah. But when he plays, he's not one of the 10 most overpaid. I don't think.
$30 million?
When he plays, he's a $20 million player.
Right. He's getting paid a third more than that.
I get it. I know that. But if he had played every game this season, he wouldn't be on your list either.
Yeah, probably right. You're probably right.
And it's also, not his fault that he's in freaking Charlotte. I mean, I don't know what people expect to happen in Charlotte. It's hard to succeed in Charlotte
That's for sure.
with their current roster. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook is my number 4. So my number 3, this might be controversial, is Kyle Lowry. I've got Kyle Lowry at 28. He's just slowly growing. And when I say growing, I mean his waistline. Yeah. He gets paid more. Guys at his position, Anthony Simons, Brunson, he gets paid more than them, more than DeRozan, more than Draymond, more than Julius Randle, more than Vujacic, more than Michael Bridges, more than Jarrett Allen. I'm naming all-stars here. I think it was a horrific signing by Miami when they did it. He gets paid the same as Kevin Love, and I honestly think Kevin Love's a better player. He's not playing the same minutes as Lowry. He's another guy that hit that perimeter player wall where he just cannot get away from anybody and can't guard anybody. And that's what his calling card was, leading the NBA in charges, this and that. Still a great locker room guy. Everybody loves the guy. And I hate to put him and Conley on here because they're both kind of the same.
Yeah.
But I got him and Conley on here. The only difference is Conley makes 22 and Kyle Lowry makes 28. I mean, Kyle Lowry's kind of a $15 million a year guy right now. He's just hit that wall so quick. I mean, he's 13, 4, and 5, 40% from the field, a little bit worse than average PER. He gets paid as the 44th best player, 47th best player in the NBA, and he's not top 100. So
he's top 100, dude. He's got to be the top. He's top 100 player in the NBA.
You're crazy.
For sure.
You're crazy.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about for the duration of a regular season. You're 100% right on that. Like, I get that. I think there's a chance in a playoff series that.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
When I say top 100, I mean beginning next season, you want to put your team together. Is he in your top 100 players list?
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, for the duration of a regular season, he's not going to play enough games and all those things that you said. I get it. Yeah, I get that part. And he, by the way, there was a list of 4 or 5 that I had outside looking in. He was on that list.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I had Harrison Barnes. I had Jonathan Isaac. Danny Green only makes $10 million.
Isaac, I took out Isaac of the equation, Jonathan. I had to take him out of the equation because he hasn't played. Yeah. So I take Isaac out. And, we don't even know what Isaac is, because he still hasn't played.
But Lowry at $28 million is a lot. So I agree with that 100%.
He probably needs to move down. Bertans at $16 million is worse, and Westbrook at 47 is worse. So I probably stretched that on Lowry. He probably should have been 5th. I hold terrible grudges. You know this, right? Yeah. I don't forget. And that year that Toronto cheated the Bucks out of the playoffs, I'll never forgive that team. Everybody on that team, I want them all dead. No, I don't mean that.
How'd they cheat them exactly? I forgot.
Oh, they beat them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Did I say cheat? I meant beat.
After being up 2-0 and Kawhi decided to go Kawhi on him.
He went Kawhi for damn sure. Who's number 3 on your list?
Number 3 on my list is one of my favorites of all time, Draymond Green. $26 million. You have to freaking be kidding me to play basketball on one end of the floor as a great team defender. Really? $26 million. And look, it's no. I mean, I've been very, very open about this. I think he's arguably the most overrated player to ever play basketball, if not team sports. And
We don't need to talk much more. We know. I mean, we're beating a dead horse. Yeah. I didn't have him in my top 10 because 26 million is not enough. He deserves 50 million. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have him in my top 10. He's probably in the 15 to 25 range for me, Jonathan.
Who's better right now, Kevin Love or him?
He's way better than Kevin Love.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Now, if you – well, I don't know. You put Kevin Love on the Warriors, he's probably even better. Kevin Love is a better version of Kevin Love on the Warriors than the Cavs. And Draymond couldn't do any of his things. This is where we get back to fit and roster chemistry and makeup. He can only fit in so many places in today's NBA. You know what I'm saying? No, I disagree. I think there's other places where he could fit. I think there's other places.
He could play in Milwaukee.
That's what I'm saying. There's other pace and space places where he could be now he wouldn't start for Milwaukee, I don't think. He would be the point guard off the bench instead of, George Hill or Javon Carter, right? I would put him at the one, literally put him at the one and take your chances with him guarding somebody on defense. It's not like George Hill's guarding anybody either. But yeah, it's very difficult to find a place for him to succeed, and he's in the most fertile environment in the league to succeed with his particular skill set. I don't want to talk anymore about him because we all know, everybody knows where we stand with him. You're a little bit more disparaging than I am, but I'm with you. He's definitely not worth that salary. Right. Number 2 for me is Ben Simmons. Is Ben Simmons better than Draymond Green?
Yes.
Yeah, but you hesitated, and Ben Simmons is making 35.4. Ben Simmons is paid as the 21st best player in the NBA, and he is the 3rd best player on his team.
Yes.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Well, not arguably. He probably is. He is definitely a 3rd best player. A distant 3rd. Extremely distant 3rd. So he's making $35 million a year. He makes more than Siakam, Booker, Towns, Drew Holiday, Embiid, Harden, and Ingram.
Yeah.
You don't have Ben on your list.
I don't have him on my list. And here's the reason. I don't know why I'm doing this, man. Why am I still holding out hope that he's going to turn it around and he's going to be his old self?
He did.
Just his old self. Just his old self.
He did turn it around.
I know, at 35
Hold on, let's do this. Let's compare Draymond Green and Ben Simmons. Draymond Green's 8.6 and 6.6, and he's shooting 51% from the field. He's 11 PER. Let's see what Ben Simmons is. I'm just curious. I haven't looked in a bit. He's 6.6, and 5.8. It's exact same counting stats. He doesn't take threes, so he's 0%. He's 60% field goals, better than Draymond, and his PER is a little bit better, probably because he's better defensively now than Draymond is. Probably. They're the exact same player, Jonathan, and he's making $9 million more a year than Draymond.
What's Draymond's 3-point percentage?
It's actually not bad. Let me go back. It's 32.8. I say not bad. That's not what you're looking for, but
better.
And keep in mind, he's really open. When Draymond takes threes, he's like Giannis level open, right?
Right. I think my hesitation when you asked me who's better, right, only lied in the fact, and it's a big reason, as to I don't know if Ben Simmons is going to show up to the arena tomorrow. Right. That's the issue. So Draymond, is going to be there. But no, who would I take on my team? That's an even. I don't know, man. I really don't know.
You can't eliminate the uncertainty of his availability when it comes to Ben Simmons. And Draymond is playing injured and will always play injured and will play as many games as he can. That's one thing you don't have to say about him is he wants to kill you. And he wants to be on the court. Ben Simmons, we don't know, and we don't know. And those are big factors, and it's hard to kind of put those completely to the side. Yeah. $35 million is a lot more than $26 million.
It is a lot. Yeah. That's tough. I guess, again, I'm still holding hope. So that was my issue.
Who's your number 2? We're going to have the same number 1.
Pat Beverly was my number 2.
Oh, Pat Beverly was number 2. I see it. Yeah. Pat Beverly at 13 is bad. Yeah, Pat Beverly at 13 is bad.
He can't be in the league, man. He can't be in the league. I could argue that if you paid him $1 million, he'd be the second most overpaid guy in the league, right? I mean,
now that's awesome. That is an awesome stretch. I love it. I love the extrapolation there. I love that. We have the same number one. You may as well just go ahead and say it. Yeah, in fact, I don't know how anybody watching could have a different number one. I guess you could really tweak the numbers and try to make an argument, but like this one checks a lot of different boxes. So go ahead and share our number one.
Yeah,
go ahead.
John Wall is number one. It has to be at $47 million. And man, you talk about a guy who hit a perimeter wall, and I know it's injury based, and I know, but when you're getting paid in Houston to not play, you're asked, you're said, look, we're going to pay you, but you're not going to play ever.
Just get out of the way.
Yeah. Because you're going to affect the development of guys. And you're only, what's he, 30? Is he 30?
How old is 32.
32 years old. So, in today's NBA, that can still be the end of your prime, or, you got a couple years left in your prime. Man, it's rough. And $47 million.
Yeah. And there's an error on Basketball Reference. They've got him listed 10th, but he's really second. Yeah. He's second. He's in between Curry and Westbrook.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a lot. I mean, it's almost not even worth discussing because.
Yeah, he needs to shove that cash under his mattress because this is the last year he's getting that. Next year he gets $6.8 million. So, which is a discount. I think he's better than $6.8 million. Which is funny, But his stats and his counting stats, I mean, he's just not an efficient dude, man. He's an exactly average player who's getting paid like the second best player in the league. He's 11, 2, and 5. I am happy that the guy's finally healthy. A lot of people don't remember the dude was electric. I mean, the years he had in Washington when he was healthy, and he never could really shoot the ball proficiently. We all know that because here's his three percentages: 29.07, 26, 35, 30, 35, 32, 37, 30, 31, and 30. He never has gathered the ability to shoot a freaking basketball for whatever reason. Right. Elite in the steals category. Really better than average scorer, always great in the assist category, 3 times average double figures in assists, oftentimes injured, but when he went through that 4-year stretch where he was healthy, 82, 79, 77, 78, he made 4 All-Star teams, 5 All-Star teams in a row. He was a very elite player, and he got paid based on that. And so he's just on the tail end of that preposterous contract where Washington was held hostage and they had to pay the dude.
There was a thought at one point, because I think they made the Eastern Conference Finals, or was it the quarter? I guess it was the semifinals when they lost to Boston in Game 7 in Boston, and you had him and Beal, and everybody said, okay, this is going to be the future of backcourt, right? There were people who argued they were a better backcourt than Steph and Clay at that point. I mean, and what people don't remember, and it's really hard to see now. He might have been him, maybe Russ, I guess, the fastest end to end with the ball.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was incredible to watch.
Him, Russ, and Fox. I mean, those three with the ball in a straight line, like ridiculous. Like he was ridiculous. If you want, for those of you who are too young to know this, and you like highlight reels and mixtapes and stuff like that, his high school highlight video, I'll never forget. I watched it over and over. He was at Word of God Academy. He dunked everything, and the interesting thing about him is he dunks everything left-handed. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
1 foot, 2 foot lobs off the dribble, Euro dunks, and the dude's only 6'3", 210. Yep. I mean, that was pretty much you were a little bit taller, but that's pretty close to your playing weight, right?
Yep.
6'3", 210.
Elite athlete. And
elite athlete.
It goes to prove when you are an elite athlete without a consistent jump shot, when you hit the wall, it's over. Over.
And that's what worries me about a couple of my favorite players. But we saw Dwayne Wade hit that wall. Remember?
Sure did. And it happened immediately, too. That's right.
It happened immediately.
And you know what the difference is? Dwayne Wade was a really good mid-range shooter, right? But then couldn't make threes. And so when you can't get your mid-range shot off, you're done. It's over.
You're done. Yeah, we saw some bad years of Dwayne Wade late in his career. There's a lot of people on that list that just, the skill set of shooting ages better than any other skill set, other than maybe height. If you're 7 feet tall, you can be relevant for a really long time as long as you have a little bit of a brain. I should say IQ and shooting and height. That's it. Those are the three that usually age the best, in my opinion. So Well, we shared the #1 spot with John Wall. Let us know, guys and gals watching. Let us know in the comments who'd we miss on. This should be an interesting one with a little bit of engagement. Who'd we miss on? I mean, I don't know how anybody could argue Jonathan Hildred Wall Jr. is not the #1 worst contract in the NBA, at least for this next year. Next year we'll have a new #1 because he's off this gigantic contract next year. So it'll be interesting to see who we have next year. I think, does Westbrook have another year at this contract? I think he does. So Westbrook's going to be pushing. Beverly might get a big extension and push for that spot.
God, I can't do it. I mean, if he's getting, you know what? Let's just agree on this. If Pat Beverly's still in the league next year, he's #1 on the list. I don't care what he's getting paid.
You've already made it up. Yeah. You've pre-recorded next year's episode on the Most Underpaid.
We won't include him on the list. We'll just different category.
Yeah. All right, show them to us. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby. And peace. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. It's actually helping our channel a lot. When you hit the like button, it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I've got a bad habit of forgetting to beg and plead people to hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and please comment, because that's what these videos are about. We want to hear your stuff, and we read every single comment, or at least I do. I read every single comment. So thank you guys for watching. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby. Peace.